You're listening to the MBA Wire, and this is episode number 30. If money and career were no object, where in the world would you choose to live? That is so easy. It would be Chapel Hill, North Carolina in the United States. That's where I'm headed. That's where I want to retire. Until then, though, let's hit it.
Inspirational MBA talk with successful alumni to motivate you during your application run. We go behind the scenes of every story, talk business, and show you why it's worthwhile to never give up on your MBA dream. And now, here's your host with the most, Mateo Chang.
What's up, citizens of the Wire? Welcome back to another episode of the MBA Wire. Today, I'm very excited and very happy to have on our podcast, Amelia Martinez. Hi, Amelia. How you doing? Thank you so much for being a part of our show today.
No, thank you for having me here. Good morning, good night for you. How are you?
That's right. I'm well, thank you. For you listeners out there, Amelia is actually doing this at 6 a.m. in the morning. So, yeah, it's pretty early in the morning to be.
It's 1 a.m. for you, so it's like we're both like in crazy hours.
Yeah, I know, crazy hours. This is all just altruistic sacrifice for the well-being of our listeners. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Happy to do this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So Amelia, why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourself to our students, our listeners? Tell us a little bit about yourself, some interesting facts, where you're from, what you've been doing, what have you been up to currently?
Okay. I was born and raised in Cordoba, Argentina. I studied political science there, and I worked for many years for the American Chamber of Commerce. But I always had this dream of living abroad and studying abroad. And so this is why I just decided to do my MBA. I went to LBS. And then after graduating, I am working for Prodigy Finance as well. And I am a manager and I work for the business development team. I'm based in London, and I manage universities from Europe, Asia, Africa, and also willing to develop the relationship with Latin American schools. And so, this is a little bit of me.
All right, nice. What about your favorite hobbies?
Well, I love music, and I love languages. Music I studied for like 15 years. I played the piano. And so I love it now that I'm living in London. It's like I go to the theater and I like opera and I like, concerts and everything. And so I'm really, I really enjoy music a lot. And then I also enjoy talking to different people, understanding different languages. I speak a little bit of, Spanish is my native language, a little bit of English, Italian, and a little bit of French as well. And so I think those are the two things that I like the most, being in contact with people, talking to them, being able to understand different cultures, and then also I think music is my fifth language, right?
Nice. Yeah, and London, huh? You're in London. I love London. It is so nice there. Wow, I visited London just recently, and it's just amazing. It's pubs.
Amazing.
Yeah, my hobby is pubs. So.
That's a good hobby as well.
Yeah. But what's your favorite thing about London?
I think it's the vibe of the city. You get to have like everything in only one place. I love the fact that you get to be in contact with different cultures. You go out and you see, people from different countries. Even you take the tube and you hear so many different languages in only one carriage, And so I think that is really amazing. And then the cultural offer that the city has. You have theaters and you have concerts, and then you can go to, pubs with, bands playing live. And then, there's so many things happening at the same time that I think that is the amazing part of London.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. With the diversity, the international diversity, especially on the tube. I actually, when I was visiting in London, I had gotten on the railway instead of the underground. I took the wrong side of the train, I think, or something.
Uh-huh.
And I realized it only after a couple of stations, but I was in a train with like, I think it was like a Swedish volleyball team. It was like 15 tall blonde women, you know, in sports clothing. And I was just sitting there. I was like, okay, I'll just wait until they get off.
Yeah.
I'll get off. But it was like the whole place was packed and stuff. And I was just like, all right, you know what? Even though I made a mistake and it's going to backtrack me for 30 minutes, I'm going to go, you know, I'm going to visit London and, you know, let's make this error into a nice experience. And really,
Yes.
London is so nice.
Yes, definitely. And even though sometimes people complain about the weather, it's not as bad as people mention it. You know, it's like, yes, you get to have, perhaps winter, it's a bit worse because it's quite dark. I mean, the day is quite short. But then it's not as rainy as, you know, many people complain about it. And the city has, I mean, life 24 hours, you know. And so even though it's a bit darker, you know, it's like things continue to work perfectly and people live normally, you know. And so for me, that is amazing as well, you know, being able to, as I say, even when you take the bus, take the tube, listening to different languages and people, you know, with different religions and different cultures and different, you know, ways of dressing up. And, you know, everything is so, I mean, there's so much diversity in only one place. And so it's amazing to have that.
Yeah. So is that why you chose London Business School?
Yes, exactly. Because, I mean, for two reasons. On the one hand, it's like I got accepted into three universities, two in the US and London Business School. And then since I used to work for the American Chamber of Commerce, I thought, in a way, I already had the chance to be immersed in the American, let's say, business culture. I worked for the American Chamber of Commerce for like 12 years, so quite a long time. I started working when I was at university. And so this is why I said, okay, perhaps if I want to have a diverse kind of experience, I think Europe was going to offer me this, you know, this kind of interest, cultural interest that I had. And so this is why I decided to go to London Business School, because I wanted to have this like international experience. And to be honest, it's been amazing. I got to meet people from more than 60 some countries. You know, we were in only one classroom and each person, you know, was from a different nationality. And so it's so good to be able to talk to people, you know, and share experiences firsthand, you know, things that sometimes you read in books or you studied when you were at school, you know, that happened in different countries. And then when you're talking to people and they actually lived, you know, in those countries and they went through those situations. And that for me, it's amazing. And even talking about different things, you know, one day I remember I had like this situation and I said, oh, why is this thing happening to me? And then one of my best friends, she's Indian, and so she started saying, well, I believe in karma and this is why. And sometimes it's things that you never thought of because, well, you know, I used to, I don't know, people with a different religion, for example. And so in this case, I was like amazed, you know, and it's like, oh, she's my best friend. And, you know, how to approach things in such a different way. And, you know, I was so happy with the response that she gave me, you know. And so this kind of things that sometimes like break your like structures and you get to see things in such a different way. This is why I just loved my experience.
Well, yeah, that's true. You get things in a different perspective. Not only do you gain diverse business experience and professional exchanges, but also this whole philosophy. You're exposed to the philosophy of different cultures. That's very interesting. And before you hadn't heard of like, you didn't really know what was karma, what karma was really about. And this is kind of where you started getting the ideas.
Yeah, that's right. And besides, it's like, yes, I might have read that. I might have studied that in a history book or, you know, But then it's like when you talk to people, I mean, it's flesh and bones people, let's say, it's like it's real people like believing in that and being raised in a different way, eating different food, it's like even those small things that sometimes you take for granted. I don't know, in my case in Argentina, dulce de leche, it's like very famous, and it's something that we eat for breakfast and then, for dessert and something, and many people don't know it. And so it's like having people home, and I prepare some cakes sometimes for my friends and they love it. And so in the other way around, it's like my friend prepares other kind of thing, and so for them it's like the normal food that you have every day, and it's something perhaps that I had never tried. And so all those things that sometimes it's like you take for granted, you learn that you don't have to take anything for granted, but you also learn to enjoy what you can bring to the group and what you can take out of the group, or the people that surround you. This is so amazing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, you get to taste a little bit of home from other people's countries, and I think that's that's awesome. That's especially good for people who like foodies, who like experimenting different types of culinary. And you're right, it kind of reminded me of a question. You're from Argentina, yes?
Yes,
exactly. You were born in Argentina.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I was born in Brazil, and maybe that's why I didn't understand what. Because see, guys, listen. Liz was the one that kind of that introduced us together and connected this interview, and she had asked me if it was all right, like if I had some kind of something against interviewing an Argentinian, and I was like, well, I wonder what she's referring to. Like maybe the cultural, there's a cultural rivalry between Brazil and Argentina, but it's
maybe football or
yeah. It's usually restricted to football. I don't have any problems with any internationals. I mean, I love the whole international diversity concept, but I just thought that was funny because other people from other countries knew about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. No, because it's like, well, football or soccer, it's very well known. And so every time they're like, hey, how was the World Cup and things that people talk to me about, ask me about this. And so it's funny, this question, because it's like, stereotypes, this is also something so important. You learn so much when you have friends from all over the world. And so how it's stereotypes, they can sometimes describe certain situations, but that's not a person per se, it's like each person is your friend because it's your friend, because you connect no matter if that person is from one country or the other, a different football team or, whatever, a different religion. And so this is, I think, one of the most important lessons that I've learned after, my MBA and after having this international experience.
Wow. And that was on point too. And that actually, you helped me come up with a question here. How did you break down those stereotypes while you were there? I mean, I'm sure everybody goes to an international MBA, having some sort of notion or some sort of like idea of different cultures. But when you first experience and you see this difference, and you see how it's completely different from the stereotype, that everyone led you to believe was true. How did you break through that obstacle?
Well, I think one of the most important things for me was the fact that at least in LBS, we work a lot in groups. And so during the first year, the school, let's say we were assigned the groups. And so at least in my case, in fact, in all the cases, we were people from different countries with different cultural backgrounds, with different professional backgrounds, with different work experience. And so mainly at the beginning, it was like how to, let's say, coordinate all those different interests, different languages, try to understand and try to, let's say, harmonize that into English. And so we had like different levels of English, and so how to understand. And, it's not only the language per se, but also the cultural, let's say, the cultural meaning of certain words, and all those things. And so at the beginning, it was quite like, not hard, but we really had to work, to say, hey, what I mean is this, but are you talking about the same thing? And so I think that is so important, to be able to communicate with other people, to be patient and to understand and to be open, to different points of views. And so sometimes, yes, when, typical Latinos, but Latinos are always late, and perhaps I was not late in the group, or the day that I was late, it's like, oh, typical Latino that you're late, or it was the other way around. There was a German friend in my team, and so sometimes he was late, and so it's like, oh my God, a German who's late. It's like, we could not believe this, things like that. We used to make like those jokes, but I think it's like, it helps, this kind of like experience, it helps you get to know the people behind, those, like, let's say the folklore of, each country. And when you see a real person, a real life person, and you get to share other things, I think this is when you break it, and then you understand that beyond, religion, city, country, language, beyond all those things, you have a person with the same interests or with the experience that can be useful for you, or you can, teach something, or you can, bring value to the team or to the group because of what you've lived, because of where you come from, because of your different experience. And so I think, this kind of experience, with people from all over the world, I think is one of the most valuable things. And I really recommend, every single person, if you're hesitant or if you're, I don't know if I should do this or not, definitely go for it. It's one of the best things that have ever happened to me.
Yeah, that's very true for many. Actually, for all of the alumni I've ever spoken with after their MBA experience, it has been amazing. Now, just kind of going back on the stereotype, I do think that there is one constant there, though, because like of the many alumni and current students that I've interviewed, they've all said the same thing about Brazilian students. And they said that Brazilian students are always late to class or to meetings, and that's just normal. That's part of the culture. So for my Brazilian students out there listening, just know that, okay, people are understanding this fashionably late trend, but let's try to change that, let's get, let's change that stereotype.
Yes, and for example, even the way you say hello, you get to change that. Because, I don't know, Latinos, we kiss, when we say hi, even if we don't know, the person you're talking to, but that is very normal. I was in Argentina the other day, and I even went to the doctor, and she, kissed me when I got to the, to her office. And so it's like, oh my God, the doctor, and I had forgotten about that, but then it's like, okay, that with Spanish people, you kiss twice, but then with it, and then, well, you learn that other people, that is not that normal for other people. And so you also change those, like, things. You try to also look for, like, more neutral, let's say, in a way of doing things in order not to offend, but also in order not to, let's say, forget about your, values or your let's
roots.
Say, your roots and your things, yes. And so sometimes it's so funny because you are trying to kiss someone and the other person is giving the hand. And so it's like, oh, I'm sorry. It's like, I'm so used to the Argentinian way, but yes, here, it's like, and so you give hands, and so you shake hands. And so, all those things that you learn, and at the beginning, it might be like, oh my God, I made a mistake, and then you make fun of those things, in the end, when you become friends. So I remember that day that I wanted to kiss you and you didn't know what I was doing and you thought I was crazy. And then it's like, and for us, shaking hands with a friend is like so distant, and, all those things that then you share, and then they become so normal. And even if you make that mistake, it's like everybody understands and everybody. But yes, I think it's important that, you kind of like share that, and you make fun of yourself in a way, when you make mistakes, but you learn from each other. And so I think this is, and with a kind of experience like this, I think this is the best way to learn, because you get to know new friends, you get to meet new people, and you become, such very good friends. And so this is important to, promote understanding and promote all those like intercultural values and understanding around the world, let's say. And so this is why I really recommend this kind of experience.
Yeah, it's very enriching. And I mean, just you don't get that kind of experience anywhere. I always tell my students that an MBA, it's just like, you're never going to have that chance again in your life. It's just something that, it's for life. It's an experience that only those who have been through an MBA will be able to know. And you'll carry with you for the rest of your life. And that's amazing. Yeah,
exactly.
Now, I kind of wanted to turn the clock back and talk about the time when you were applying to your MBA, and what were the main difficulties that you faced during your application process, and how did you overcome those difficulties?
Well, I think there were many, and when you commit to this, you will see that you will find like many obstacles in your way. But for example, it's a time investment. It takes a lot of time because, at least in my case, having studied political science, it's like I did not have a very strong math background, and so for me to sit for the GMAT, it was really complicated. I had to sit for it twice, and I really needed to change professors and, look for someone else and then buy different books and, talk to people. And so there's a lot of commitment, there's time investment, and there's money investment as well, it's like, because it's not, when you apply, you have to pay for that. And then you also, in my case, that I was working with a professor as well. And then also, all the things that happen, during the process, it implies a lot of effort. But then this is one of the things. Then on the other side is like funding. It's also something, once you get to, the point that you're accepted in one university, it's like, okay, how do I finance my MBA, which is not that easy. And so in my case, coming from Argentina, I went through, devaluation of the currency. And so when I received my letter, the exchange rate was 1. And then when I had to go to university 3 months later, the exchange rate was almost double. And so imagine my budget that was in, my savings that were in pesos. And so I had to look for a solution for that as well. In only 1 month or 2 months, it's like my budget completely changed. And then,
how did you manage that? That's interesting though. How were you able to get through that financial crisis? That moment there, you applied, you were accepted, and then now, your budget just got cut in half. Well, how did you get through that?
Yes. Well, thank God, I could find. I got a scholarship from the university. First of all, it was a partial scholarship. Then, thankfully, my family could help me as well. And then the third source, I got a loan from Prodigy Finance. And so I think those 3 things helped me, in this process.
Oh, what was your experience like from being funded by Prodigy Finance?
Oh, for me, it was such an amazing experience. And I'm not saying it because this is my current employer. Yeah, that's right. No, but for me, it was really great. It was really a smooth process. And take into account that it's also, I like the concept of it, because it's community money. And so that behind the loan that you're getting, it's people supporting you, people that think that you can make a difference, and that wants to support your studies. And so the process for me was really smooth. In less than 2 weeks, I had my loan. You go to the website and it's very easy. You choose the program that you want to go to, and then you have to complete. It's a quite simple application form, with your assets, your liabilities, and then a budget for that year and how you plan to fund your studies and what's your shortfall. And then, the application is processed, and then the credit committee makes a decision. And so, if that's, it's a very smooth and easy process. The important thing for international students is that you do not need a cosigner. which is one of the main things that if you go to a different financial institutions, they are going to want, you to have a cosigner or a warrantor or or to have collateral or so. And then this is, I think, one of the advantages that Prodigy Finance offers. And then the third thing is that they're not assessing you only on your current situation, but they think that if you've had I could say the guts, to go through all this process, to do the MBA, to be, being exposed to all the things that you have to go through during the MBA and the resilience that you develop. And then if you want to do that, if you still, after all that effort, you really want to do that, it's like they are also thinking of your future, and, they know that you're going to be a person who's going to have perhaps or looking to have a better career, a better job, and so you're going to be able to repay your commitment. And so I think that is also very important, the predictive model that the company uses. And so it's easy. You become part of a new network, a network that is supporting your education, and it's. I'm sorry, I forgot the third thing that I said. But it's easy. You have the network that supports you, and
you don't need cosigners or collateral.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. And so this is one of the most important things that I think, that makes a difference, or it's a real added value from Prodigy Finance.
Yeah, it is a huge selling factor, of not needing a cosigner. And that's actually something I'd love to promote. I love promoting this kind of stuff to students because I think it really gives them a good chance, for not only investing in their present MBA experience, but for their future careers as well. That's awesome.
Yeah, and as I said before, in the same way that, for example, today when people call me and say, hey, how was your experience? I'm more than happy to share what I've been through. In this case, it's it's people also who've been through this situation and who are willing to invest in me, and support my studies. And so I think the community aspect of the loan and the company, I think also it's a very interesting concept. And so because that you're studying, but it's because someone who's been through the same situation is supporting you, and someone who doesn't even know you, but is helping you make your dream come true. And so I think that's also really strong. And this is why I like working for the company so much. Because you can really sense that day by day.
Yes. No, well, yeah. I'm sold on Prodigy, and I'm actually the one organizing the Prodigy Finance event to happen in São Paulo next month. So,
oh, amazing! Yes.
Yeah. So I'm trying to get some people from Prodigy to come down and present.
Okay, I'm more than happy to go to São Paulo.
Yeah. Let's talk to Liz and let's get get more people on the boat here. So please continue with your main difficulties.
Yes, and then I think the other thing that I wanted to mention is in this whole process, you're going to have to deal with disappointment, with uncertainty. You will have to develop, patience and resilience, because sometimes things are not the way, we want us to be, or when you apply and then you're waiting for the response. And so it's I have to be patient. You want the response right now, but then it takes, a couple of months sometimes, to get that, happy or sad response and all that. And so I think those are the main things. And as I always say, it's the GMAT and the application process is only the first part of this whole journey. That perhaps it's not going to be easy, but it's totally worth it, And so, yes, then you learn so many other things, and you learn that, now you're dealing with uncertainty in your MBA, but then that also translates in life. And then, you go through the process all over again, in each step that you take during your MBA, because it's okay, I've applied and I've been accepted. Okay, all the other, let's say, challenges that you face, funding, you have to leave your family, you have to find a new apartment, you have to, you don't know where you're going to be living, the friends you're going to make, and all those things. And then when you start classes, everything is fine. But as soon as you start, then you have to start recruiting, for your internship. And then, oh my God, did you get the internship or not? And you have to keep trying. And, many, let's say, many interviews that you have to go to, you have to prepare for that and blah, blah, blah. And then once you overcome that phase, you have to start thinking of the full-time job and what are you going to do? Where are you going to be living? Because perhaps you thought you were going to finish and do something else, but then you discovered that you like something else as well. And so perhaps you thought you were going to do consulting and then you can go for banking, or the other way around. Or, it's like you thought you were going to live in one country, but you get the offer from to go to a different country. And so the GMAT, let's say, and the application process is the first part of this amazing journey where you have to navigate so many other things. But I think, as I said before, just go for it.
Yeah, go. And it's kind of funny that you're saying that. And while you were talking about this, I can recall a couple of students talking about the same, the similar difficulties, but all of them have said the same thing along the lines that you've said. It's not just the MBA experience, but it's the entire year and a year and a half before that you're preparing for it. It's like the total package is an experience. It's not just the 2-year MBA, but everything that happens before the MBA is a maturity process. You learn to climb the mountain and reach the top. It's very enlightening.
Yes, the thing is that you think that you've reached the top with the MBA, but then it's like you haven't. You keep climbing and you keep climbing. It's like, but the thing is that when you are in your MBA, you get to know other people that are in the same situation, and so you share so much that helps. Also go through the process. But yes, and sometimes there's something that I also used to talk about with my friends. It's like sometimes it's a very lonely process in a way. And so it's good to be in contact with, other people, blogs and, MBA Wire, this kind of like exchanging. Yes, exchanging, because I didn't have this before, and then it was so useful for me when I started finding people in the same situation, because none of my friends were studying for the GMAT or for the MBA, and sometimes they would say, "It's like, but why are you studying so much now? Are you crazy? Why would you want to change your life or what?" And so it's like sometimes it becomes like quite a lonely process. But then, and then so it's like, okay, am I doing it the right way? But then when you talk to people who've been through the process before, and you say, okay, I'm not that crazy. This is something that everybody, goes through, and okay, let's go. And you look for support, and you know that you're going through the same situation, or, it's so interesting to see that as well, how you develop as a person. And as I mentioned before, your patience, your resilience, and then your dedication, because you have to study, and it's something that you have to do like every day. It's not that you can study once a week, and at least it was not my case, once a week or once in a while, and then go sit for the GMAT. I had to, study every single day. I would get back from work and then do some exercises, but then, as I said, when you get to know the community, when you become part of this world, it's like you don't feel alone anymore, and so it's good to use all these tools and to be in contact with other people to go through this process. Yes,
I think you captured like the spirit of the MBA Wire, which is to show people that you're not alone. You're not alone. Exactly. Yeah. As much as you feel lonely, it is a lonely journey, but it's not. Yeah. It's just people are coming from different routes to the same destination. So yeah. So it's kind of like Ariel from The Little Mermaid, that desire to be part of the MBA world, and it's nice. It's my favorite movie, by the way. That's why I always use movie references throughout my interviews, just to just so listeners can know about my favorite movies. But anyway, so you got through this, you got through this difficult application process. You met with your network, which I'm pretty sure was very exciting. Once you, what was the feeling like when you got the acceptance letter? When you opened it up or opened up the email, how did you feel?
Yes, it was like, oh my God, the dream is actually it's becoming true. It's like, and so sometimes I thought I was going to be like, so excited, and I was, but I was also, oh my God, my life is about to change, It's just like, this is becoming real. And all the things that perhaps I thought, okay, when I get to this point, I was at that point, at that moment. And so it's like, oh my God, it's such a strong feeling, because something that you wished for, at least in my case, I wished like so much. And then it's like, I was actually there. It's like, you cannot believe it. It was like, so when I told my parents, like, you know what, I've been admitted, but it was, I was in this kind of like, what am I doing? It's like, this is something amazing, but at the same time, okay, my life is going to change. I'm going to have to move countries, I'm going to have to leave my family, my friends, and all the things that I knew for, a country with a new, even a new language, with new people, nobody that I knew from before. And so it was like really exciting and with those kind of like mixed feelings. But it was amazing. And I remember the day I got my acceptance letter from LBS, I had a meeting with my friends. They were coming home for dinner, and it was like 15 to 20 friends that were coming, and I was preparing food for them. I'm famous because I prepare gnocchi, because every 29th, this was the 29th of March. And so they were coming that night, and I was making homemade gnocchi. And then when we finished, blah, blah, blah. And so I said, hey, girls, I need to tell you something. And so everybody looked at me like saying, I got accepted, because they saw me when I was studying, and many weekends they would call me and say, hey, let's go out. Let's go out dancing or whatever. And I would say, no, I have to study. It's like, because if I go out until late today, I'm not going to be able to study tomorrow. And all those things, you're so boring. Why do you want to do this? And then when I told them, it's like, I actually, I received my confirmation letter today. I'm going to London. Everybody looked at me and they like, oh my God. And well, of course, we hugged and we kissed and, we celebrated. We, made a toast. And so that is something like very nice. And I remember that day like very vividly.
Nice. It actually sounds like you're ready to go again now.
Yes, of course. I would do it all over again. Yes.
Well, what is it that you missed most? Like, give me one most memorable experience from your MBA, experience. Yes.
Well, I think I can mention a couple of things that really were very nice.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I think I've mentioned them before is the kind of people that you meet and the diversity and the kind of cultural experience that you get in the MBA. That is something that I really miss. I miss my friends, even though we've been together for only 2 years. It's like I know they are my friends for life. And so, and even now, I've been in Madrid and I was staying at a friend's house, and then I went to, visit another friend in a different country. And so this is so nice, because you get to see people from all over the world. The other day I was in South Africa for work, and I also called a friend, who's living now in South Africa. And so this is so amazing to be able to be in contact. And even if it's been already almost 1 year that we graduated, we keep in contact. And then, hey, I'm going to be in this city. And it's like, are you going to be around? And so this is so nice. And so that's one thing. I think one of the most, let's say, rewarding or the most amazing experiences that I had in the MBA. In LBS, we have what we call the Global Business Experience, the GBE. And so we get to go for 1 week to a different country and experience, and we have meetings and company visits, let's say to get to know the business environment. And I got to go to India, to Mumbai. And so I think it was an incredible experience because on the one hand, I got to know new people even from the MBA because In LBS, we have streams, and so during your first year, you are always having classes and taking classes with the same people. And then when you have your electives, you mix, with other people. And so the GBE also helped me meet new friends and, get to know even a lot more people from my classmates, but also being immersed in such a different culture, the business culture in India and how it's working. And so when you learn or you realize, Argentina has 40 million people, and then India is 1.2 billion people. And so when you realize, the proportions, it's like, it's only a 1% of the population. If you talk about Argentina, well, it's a very small number. But even if it's only 1% of the Indian population, you get, it's like you get to see with your own eyes, those differences and the cultural differences, in the way you do business and the different industries that they have and all those things. And so I think it was such an amazing and such a holistic, let's say, experience, because it was at a personal level and also, let's say, more in a broader perspective, let's say also the business environment in a complete different culture, in a different continent, we would say,
Wow.
Yes, and that was also, for me, that was one of the best experiences in the MBA.
Wow, that's amazing. So how has this MBA helped you, like, in the past year or so, during not only for your career progression, but also your personal life, man? Just some of the key things that you've been able to take away from this experience.
I think, it has helped me make my career more international, because, I used to work for, there was an international component in my previous work, but I think that after the MBA, the world becomes smaller and you become a lot more open. So, these two forces combine, and so in my case, at least, this is one of the most important things. As I said, the more international career, which is something that I was looking for and that I'm so happy for. Also, I think the diversity of subjects that you take during your MBA and the different roles you develop during the MBA have helped me have a lot more flexibility in the way you think, in the way you approach different situations. It's like, because as I said, I used to think that everybody would love dulce de leche for breakfast, and this is not. And so if you take that to the business environment, you tend to think that everybody, or what you said, that everybody gets to meetings late because it's a normal thing or the rule. And it's not like that. And so that kind of flexibility and also the way you approach your relationships to people, it's completely different. And also you get to have in the MBA, accounting, but also economics, but also, strategy, and also you have organizational behavior, and so leadership, and, and so it's such a comprehensive, let's say, curriculum that the approach to things is different. You may not realize it, but then when you talk to other people, perhaps people who have not had the opportunity to go to an MBA, you realize how, let's say, how your vision, the way you view things is different. And then I think in my personal life, yes, as I said before, being able to have a more open view of the world of business and most importantly of people. And what I learned is that we may speak different languages, have different religions, or different professional backgrounds, diverse interests. But beyond that, you get to know people with the same challenges in life, the same interests, same objectives. And so beyond all the differences that you think that you're going to find, you find so many other common, let's say, characteristics in the people. You want to progress. You think of the world, to make a better world, to have, more open societies, and, how to understand different cultures, and and so I think those are the three most important things in my career and personal life after the MBA.
Beautiful, beautiful. And, I really love how you said the world becomes smaller after you've done your MBA. That was yes. Amazing. That was poetic. That was poetic.
Yeah.
That was poetry.
Yeah, but it's true. It's like, as I said, I mean, getting to go to a different country, and even if you haven't talked to a certain person for like months, and you just drop an email and say, hey, I'm going to be in town for like 2 days. Would you like to meet up for a coffee? And so, oh, yes, amazing. And so it's like you're in a different part of the world, having coffee with a friend you've been, with someone you've shared so much, even if it was only 2 years. I mean, it's such an intense, let's say, experience that it's like those things in distance, they're not important anymore. It's what you've shared and, the things that are in common that still remain.
It just sounds so much like a one of those, almost like a movie where, two friends spend almost every day of 2 years together, and then they just,
yes.
Even if you're apart, continents apart, years apart, you still meet up, and it still has the same feeling from,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, from that time before. Wow, that's amazing. Well, thank you for all those insights, Amelia. And
you're welcome.
Yeah, and I was curious. Usually I end an interview with a final piece of advice.
Yes.
What is your final piece of advice or final word of motivation to get, our listeners pumped up and pushing through this difficult application period? What would you say? What is your piece of advice?
Yes, I could think of like 3-4 things that I would like to say. First, something that I've mentioned is like, it's not an easy path, but it's totally worth trying it. So it's like, don't be disappointed if something doesn't go right the first time, or, if you apply and a certain university doesn't, admit you, or, if the GMAT was not good the first time you sit for it, I mean, go for it again. It's like, don't give up so easily, because it's a journey that is going to change your life. That's one thing. The second thing I would say, talk to a lot of people to try to understand the programs and the culture of each university. Sometimes it might be, I have to contact this random person that I don't know, that is a friend of a friend of a friend. But then when you actually talk to that person, you can realize that it's a person that, first of all, understands you. It's a person that can give you a lot of insight. And that person went through the same process, and so understands the situation that you're going through and is willing to help. Sometimes you may say, oh no, but I'm, taking some time from this person. And I'm pretty sure that that person is happy to be able to connect with you and to talk about their experiences and how that person overcame the problems and all the difficulties that went through, in this journey to the MBA. And so I really encourage you to talk to people in different universities, get to know what they like, what they don't like, and you get to kind of like sense the culture of each university. Then another piece of advice would be, no matter what school you choose, it's going to be the best choice for you. Of course, that I have my heart in LBS, and it's an amazing university, but the experience is such an amazing experience no matter where you go, that, it's like, don't be worried about, am I making the right choice? If I go to this university and I got admitted to 2 or 3 universities, what am I going to do? It's like, follow your heart. Talk to people to understand, as I said before, if the cultural fit is good for you. And it's going to be an amazing experience anyways. And then I think the last one, it's more related to the professional side, would be if you have the chance to do many internships and to be in contact with like many companies, I think it's going to help you also in the future. In my case, I did like 3 internships, and so I got to know very different companies, very different industries. And then I could say, okay, I like this, I didn't like this, or I like this from this place, and I, enjoyed this from this other place. And so I think that is also important. So if you have the chance, even if it's only for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, to work for a company or get in contact with them and help them with a project, or, so and so, I think it also gives you a lot of insights, on to shape your future career. So I think those are the things that I would say.
Wow, so many insights, so much advice there. I mean, this is amazing. Thank you so much, Amelia. Wow, I mean,
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to notify students to take notes on this episode.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Amelia. Now, Amelia, how can our students get in touch with you if they have any further questions? Can they just send you an email
yes,
or
exactly.
your LinkedIn?
Yes, fantastic. Or I can give you my email, or, it's like right now I'm also working for Prodigy Finance, as I mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is also interesting for them in terms of if they want to, they're looking for, let's say, funding for their studies. It's mainly for international students. And so I think this could also be interesting. My email, I can say it now, or I can give it to you and you share it with the people. I don't know what you prefer. And
you can say it now, and then I will also have it up on the website.
Okay, so it's A, like Amelia, A Martinez with Z in the end, at prodigyfinance.com. Perhaps it's quite difficult if you have it on the website. It's gonna be better.
I'll have it up on the website as well. Well, Amelia, thank you so much for your time and for waking up so early in the morning, 6 a.m. Yeah. And thank you for the insights. I mean, this has been awesome. Listening to your story and being motivated by the things that you've been through and how you've overcame them.
Oh, no, thank you so much for this opportunity. And I mean, if you have other questions, or if people may want to contact me, feel free to do it. It's more than happy to share my amazing experience and all these journeys. And as I said before, I recommend it to every single person. So go for it.
Go for it. There you go. You said that. I think you said go for it about 18 times this interview.
18 times, yes. And I would keep saying it because I truly believe, this has been an experience that has changed my life. And you're going to listen to it so many times, because I remember when I used to be talking to people, they used to say it, oh, this is going to change your life. And I say, okay, come on. It's only, you're studying something, it's not, but truly is that. And when you go through the whole experience, it's you realize all the words that sometimes you listen from people, and at the beginning, perhaps they do not resonate with you that much. But then when you finish the MBA, it's okay, this person was right when they told me this. And so, yes, I definitely believe that.
There you go, listeners of the MBA Wire. Just go for it. Go for it. So I want to thank Amelia Martinez one last time here. And thank you so much, Amelia.
Bye-bye.
This is Mateo Chang, your host of the MBA Wire, signing off. Catch you guys on the next episode.
Thanks for tuning into the MBA Wire. Would you like to know more? Visit us online at thembawire.com today and leave your questions and feedback. While you're there, sign up for an exclusive free audio series to help you strengthen your MBA interview. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the MBA Wire.